nation! No donation, no salvation!
And remember, respect is everything.
Much time has passed since the last time I looked at these, so I decided to try and give these a more fair assessment given the nature of what happened last time regarding Windcharger. Okay, I'm gonna need... Whoa. So yeah, I realized one of the problems with this particular mold is it was plagued with very poor clearance and tolerance issues. But I also realized there was a big factor in those issues that was contributing to a lot of the clearance issues. And a number of the clearance issues were mostly caused by an excess of unnecessary tabs. Allow me to explain. So because I recently repaired Windcharger, we're going to focus more on Tailgate, since he was the one I didn't get to look at last time. So yes, we're going to be looking at Tailgate first, because I kind of like the white more, even though I like the hood on him better. Although, to be honest, if I were to have the perfect version of this mold, it would be all black, like the Knight Rider car, but without the Knight Rider front end, and just the normal Firebird look. And the rear louvers, of course, because rear louvers are awesome. But yes, Windcharger and Tailgate in Generation 1 were originally modeled after an 82 Trans Am. Or, I don't even think it was a Trans Am, it was just a Pontiac Firebird. But yeah, it's one of those things that made those cars so popular, as well, in addition to being an 80s sports car, is the pop-up headlights, which are very reminiscent of a Corvette. Unfortunately, many of those old cars with pop-up headlights, the headlights would break often, and one would get stuck in place, or neither one would work. So yes, as you can see, Tailgate here, it kind of looks like one of those drunk cartoon characters. You know how they always have like one eye slightly saggier than the other? Kind of like me most of the time, except I don't drink anymore. But yes, there's the car. Those taillights are not accurate. They should be, there should be some black in the middle to separate the individual taillights. But again, these are third-party figures, so I imagine they had to make some liberties to avoid the obvious General Motors copyright infringements that are occurring here. Even though they do have the correct hubcap rims, which, like, holy crap, they're really pushing it. Yes, to give you some further assessment, here's the G1 reissue of Windcharger. So yes, even on the G1 toy, Windcharger will have this one-sided ram air hood, whereas Tailgates will have a more symmetrical one. So that actually is accurate to the toys as well, which is kind of hilarious. Speaking of the toys, here's my Tailgate that I currently own, because I had the Windcharger version of this from Combiner Wars, but he got lost with time, and I don't know what happened to him, and he probably got broken and shattered into 1,000 pieces. I like the hood decal because it kind of reminds me of a lot of those decals that a lot of the old school Trans Ams had, or Firebirds in general. It wasn't just a Trans Am thing. Depending on how you ordered your vehicle. I do also have the Power of the Primes versions, because these are probably the best chug versions of these characters, because they look closest to the originals. And I keep one in car mode because, again, I like the white more. And then I also do have the Reveal the Shield mold. I actually had 2 of these, because I had a black one, because this came from a 2-pack, because I didn't realize I forgot the name of the actual line that this was from years ago, because I kept trying to find it under the Hunt for the Decepticons subline, which was not correct at all, and I don't know why I came to that conclusion. So I literally bought the United version by mistake, which came in a 2-pack with a black version, but I don't have the black version anymore because it broke, and I don't know what happened to it. I think my sister may have thrown it out when she was still living here, which I'm kind of pissed off about. And then I also do have Transformers Prime Cliff Jumper in my custom Tailgate here, who, according to the show, or at least the toys anyway, is supposed to be a repainted Cliff Jumper, but that's one thing that always bothered me about Tailgate. He's always a repaint of a character that died very tragically. I mean, Windcharger, you didn't see it happen, but, you know, Cliff Jumper, God. May that thought rest in peace. Yeah, if you're wondering what kind of car Cliff Jumper is, he's based on a Dodge Challenger from the 1970s. And yes, this is a custom, and before you freak out, it's a Terracon Cliff Jumper. Seriously, these things are just sitting on eBay. Nobody wants them, and they're great for customs. And yes, he looks like the car from Vanishing Point. Alright, it's enough of all that car crap. Knight Rider. Anyway, here's a base model Trans Am, for those who are going to make the obvious Knight Rider references. So yeah, those hubcaps are accurate, although he should have taillights, but again, I didn't... this is a Hot Wheels car, so they're obviously not going to go through that much effort. Plus, I think the one in the show had tinted covers, so... Again, more irrelevant car facts that most people are probably not going to care for later. Because nobody ever really does. And then here's Kit, but this is like an old 80s version where it's like super long. Seriously, look at this thing. And yes, I restored this too because when I found it, it looked like it came out of a junkyard. Alright, let's clear the table of all this crap and get to the transformations. Alright, we're going to start with Tailgate, although we will look at Windcharger when I finish looking at Tailgate's transformation, because transformation is more or less the same. There is a minor difference in the front. This is a solid piece, and this is an individual, like, sectioned off piece. We'll get into that later when we're dealing with the robot mode, and we'll explain why. So yes, because I don't plan to get rid of these, I mean, I'm pretty much stuck with these things, because, let's be honest, these things are stupidly expensive, and I don't plan to replace them, because, yes, Windcharger broke last time, but I have fixed it since then. I do have their accessories here, so we'll look at those in a minute. So yeah, there's the gun. Let's go ahead and get that out of there. And there's his little pew-pew blaster that makes the pew-pew noises. And it won't show up on camera because my autofocus hates me. Anyway, that's enough of that. Apologies. I know it sounds like I'm rushing. That's because I technically already looked at these, but I didn't get to look at them in the amount of detail that I wanted to. So that's why I'm re-reviewing them now that I've made what I feel are some worthy modifications to make these figures more tolerable. So yes, your transform, actually, let's get the legs loose first. So yeah, as you can see, I clipped off a lot of the tabs because the vehicle mode already by itself is already stable enough, so you just don't really need the overkill amount of tabs that this figure had, because, I'll be honest, there was way too many of them, and most of them would just break anyway after a few years, and in this case, Windcharger's window broke off. And I wouldn't be surprised if his decided to break off on camera too, because just my luck, of course. I'm probably jinxing myself. I should be explaining the transformation, but you can literally look at the screen. But yes, you just push on the wheels and then the arms will come out. So, yeah. Oh, his shoulders are slightly different. They have these like fake molded wheels on for some reason. So yes, push the arm in. And it should just come right out. Or at least that, in theory. Again, I had to modify this mold, both my molds, several times because of the terrible clearance and the overkill amount of tabs on this figure. The clearance on these things was absolutely horrible. It was horrible. Sorry, I just say things weird. Also, if you hear my heater in the background, it's because it's very cold right now because, you know, Texas, especially Austin's weather, is just a bipolar mess. And before you make fun of Texans for not handling the cold, keep in mind, our state originally was never prepared for these sort of things. So if you remember the crazy blizzard that happened a few years ago, I think it was actually a year ago, I don't remember, where a bunch of people lost electricity and power and literally almost froze to death. Yeah, like I said, our state was never originally prepared for these things because it wasn't a problem before, but because nature decided to take its course and throw things around, you know, these things happen. Again, I'm not trying to be a douche or anything, I'm just pointing out the facts, because, again, they are facts. These are issues we never had to prepare for originally. But anyway, I should be explaining the transformation, but hopefully you can see what's going on screen. So yes, you saw there, just, you gotta rotate the hands out. It's very awkward. Come on, there we go. Okay, so you gotta open his fingers up. It's actually really easier to show on this figure because of the white, which is kind of nice. So yes, you fold the hands down like that, then you kind of accordion them around. You gotta be careful because you don't want to break that thumb off. So yes, you gotta rotate them around so it kind of do this weird like twist motion so you can get that thumb cleared out. Then you rotate these around. The thumb is still giving me issues. Okay. Okay, I might have to force it here. I might have to clip that tab off too. Yeah, like I said, I clipped off a lot of the tabs because there was just too many of them and they were very overkill. And since, you know, most of the figure is assembled with screws, if I really need the figure to hold together, I'll just tighten the screws, which I did have to, I actually had to loosen a lot of the screws on this one because they were just too tight because, again, some of the tolerances and clearances were not quite good on this mold. So again, apologies if I'm rambling, but at least I'm showing you the transformation this time, and I'm going to really need to keep that weapon on hand because, yeah, here, let's just put the gun in his hand because I have a feeling I'm going to need it repeatedly throughout the transformation to get things out. Alright, pal, you just hold on to that. I might need it later. Okay. Yeah, the legs are really the only part I couldn't really fix with this mold. Because, again, a lot of the other stuff, I mean, if you just clip all the tabs off, or shave, I mean, again, you're better off just sanding them down, because the amount of effort it took me to do this as carefully as possible with, you know, pliers and, you know, sanding tools and stuff like that, it took a lot of time. So it was not easy either, but, again, none of the best things in life are ever easy. You ever tried fixing a car? Yeah. It's not easy, but it is fun, if you know what you're doing. I don't really know what I'm doing half the time, so most of the time me and my dad are just doing it together. When we're working on my old car, my AMC Matador station wagon, that I talk about way too much, honestly. Because, yes, I have to mention it at least one time every video. Not really. Again, I'm sorry. I talk about that car way too much, but it is kind of the channel mascot right now. Because I love it. Alright, again. So for this part, you're supposed to rotate this out. But again, obviously the clearances are not good. So the best way to do it is to just fold that up. Then you just gotta, I mean, I don't like forcing it. Go ahead and fold the foot out. Again, this whole foot is a mess. I'm not going to fold the wheel in yet, because that's where a lot of the clearance issues come in. So yeah, go ahead and fold that in. Or not the foot, the wheel. Or did I say wheel? I don't remember. You see, that's what happens when you have autism. It sucks, because then simple things that should be easy to remember are not easy to remember. And that's my life in a nutshell. I'm not funny, I know, I'm sorry. Okay, so yes, fold that out like that. Now that was actually pretty smooth, again. Now to get that wheel in there, because that wheel is supposed to be inside the leg, what I like to do is just kind of stuff it in there. And then you should be able to actually rotate. Yeah, so you could just rotate that. You got to fold that little thing down. Again, I don't know what the point of that piece is. You don't really need it. I could have just broke that off entirely, but I didn't want to because there was no reason to. Extend the legs out like that. And there's one leg done. So I'm going to see if I can try and show it off better on this side. Because again, this is not the easiest thing to document. Okay, so pull that up. Pulls down. Okay. So we'll go around here. And then we should be able to fold this up like this and leave it like that for now. I do want to rotate this up. Again, some of these screws might be a little too tight, so you may want to loosen them if you do plan to modify this figure to actually make it functional, for lack of better terms. Okay, again, the clearance here is not the greatest, so bear with me. Alright. And then you just got to work around that wheel. That's really where the issues are, is that main rod there. That rod where it holds the actual heel spur and numerous other parts. But once you get past it, it's not too bad. Again, fold it out, fold the foot down. Actually, leave that up for just a second. Fold that tab in, then fold this out. And then because it's a wheel, it's fairly round, so it'll just go right in without any issue. There you go. See? No problem at all. Actually, it's a really cool foot design. I kind of like how the back of the car makes the foot. I mean, it's a little too overcomplicated for what it is, but it's kind of cool. I also like how the rear louvers kind of look like armor plates. So there's the lower half done. Again, normally this would take an eternity, which I'll be honest, I am kind of taking my time with this still, because this mold is not very stable in any regards, mostly due to the poor tolerances and clearances, which I've probably said about 5,000 times already. Have you gotten sick of it yet? I am sure you have. So again, I had to do a lot of modifications to this figure because, you know, the transformation just straight out of the box is a nightmare. But when you clip off all the excess tabs that the figure really doesn't even need, it actually is quite fun. Once you figure out the legs and stuff. Again, there's kind of a trick to it, but I mean, I pretty much just showed you how to do it, so it is what it is. This part, you just kind of get this out. And again, the reason I'm transforming Tailgate first is because, oh yeah, go ahead and fold that up too while you fold that in there. Windcharger broke last time, but I've fixed him. But again, the glue is, because it's very cold right now, the glue takes a little longer to dry. The amazing goop, as I talked about last time. Alright, then, now this is the only part that's different. Because this is a solid piece, I'll show that off when I'm transforming Windcharger. But I'm going to do him off screen and only show off the minor differences, because otherwise they're pretty much the same figure. Okay, go ahead and fold that back in. Alright, fold that down. Now again, if it wasn't for the overkill amount of tabs, this transformation would actually be fun. But again, I also clipped off the tabs back here, but you don't really notice it because I sanded them down and painted it black, so you don't notice it. Because, you know, again, if the joints by themselves, they're not floppy by any means. So I mean, you really don't need all that stuff to clip in. And even then, like the figure by itself, I mean, it's secure enough. Oh, right. This is one part that I don't see people talk about a lot, and it's kind of weird. So, yeah, there it is. On the wheels, there is a hole, and you have to rotate it until you find it. Look, there's the other one. So, there are some tabs inside the chest plate, although I don't think this one has them. So, I think... Oh, no, they're there. They're just smaller, because on Windcharger I think they're more prominent here. Let me take a look real quick. Yes. Oh no, they're about the same, but yes, in the actual chest plate there's some tabs in there. I can't show it off very well because the lighting's not working. But yes, there's some tabs in there. You got to line them up, and you honestly don't even really need to do that either, but again, I'm trying to keep this authentic. Okay, apologies. I had the chest slightly wrong. You're not supposed to fold up that little bumper piece. You're supposed to kind of cram it in there, because there's a little tiny tab that is supposed to go into that slot. So, as usual, I missed it. So, sorry. Okay. Alright, well, there we go. Now the chest is actually stable. Again, you probably don't need that tab. I could have clipped that off too, but again, I tried to make the modifications to this figure as minimal as possible. So, yeah. There's Tailgate. Since we already looked at Windcharger, I didn't really get to show off the transformation on him very well, which sucks, but, I mean, like I said, it's the same transformation. Let me show where I did the repairs. Yeah, so I had to glue that whole thing together because I do not trust the other side, so I glued that one too. I probably should have done it to Tailgate, but his hasn't broken yet, so I'm not going to deal with it for now. I also clipped the tabs off the windows on both figures because, again, they just, you don't need them. This whole thing could have been one solid piece, because if this is supposed to fold under, what was the point of all that other crap? Oh, crap, I think I may have put a little too much glue, at least on that one part. Okay, I got Windcharger mostly back in karma. I just want to do one other update. I did remove some of the glue because it was kind of in the way of this particular panel, but now it works more or less how it's supposed to. Again, there's still a little bit of obstruction, but again, I want to leave some of that glue on there because, again, the whole point was to repair this thing, and also because, you know, I don't trust the clear plastic on this since it literally broke off. Again, I don't know why they even bother with clear plastic, because, I mean, it doesn't, all you're going to see is robot crap under there anyways. It's like, what's the point? Again, it's an argument that's always going to be a losing battle because Hasbro never listened. And this is third parties. This isn't even Hasbro's fault, ironically. And this is from years ago, which, it's hard to believe how old these are now. They're probably dated now. I don't collect third party or Masterpiece, but again, I wanted these for the car mode because I love weird 80s sports cars, especially the old Firebirds, because, you know, I love the old Camaros too, but let's be real here. Those pop-up headlights are what sold me on this, because, ironically, this is based on an American car, and it's probably the best looking representation of this car, and it's from China, which is hilarious. I'm going to leave the one accessory out because I do need to demonstrate it, because Windcharger is currently in car mode, I can't demonstrate it on Windcharger. So I know it seems like a lot of effort to deliberately further damage the figures so I can appreciate them, but since I felt a lot of the initial issues I had with this figure were based on the construction of it, since I'm not getting rid of these, and these are going to be my problem until the end of time, or until another third-party Windcharger comes out that actually looks like a decent Firebird, or Tailgate, because, I mean, again, they're the same bot, just different heads and hoods on the car. They did come with accessories. At least Tailgate came with a much more impressive accessory. Let me find it. So that gun is, or whatever this thing is, this jammer is for Windcharger, but again, because I left him in car mode, You know, I don't want to deal with transforming Windcharger, so I'm going to put that back on him. I like that how nicely the weapons store, because they kind of look like something that would just be under the car. Like, that's probably where the muffler or whatever would be. Or the catalytic converters or whatever else they stuck on after emissions laws, because we're not allowed to have fun with vehicles anymore. At least that was back in the day. Nowadays, I mean, you kind of need all that stuff, because then the computers freak out when they don't have it, because they're like spoiled children when they don't get what they want. Yeah, I don't like the way modern cars are built. Oh, I never did find out where this that screw went, but I'm not going to bother with. I'm going to hold on to it, but here's the alternate faces. It says for Tailgate, he comes with alternate eyes, which look very creepy. He's got the Clint Eastwood eyes, just kind of funny. All right. And then I think for Windcharger, he also came with a more face accurate to the G1 toy, because I do have the keychain reissue, and yeah, he doesn't really look like Windcharger except for the shape, but yeah, he looks like, what were those guys from Star Wars? I think they were the Emperor's Royal Guards. I don't remember, but they kind of look like that, which is funny. They were just red, though. And there's my multi-tool that I used for all the modifications that I talked about, because it came with a lot of handy things on it. And yes, I have the knife marked with red tape, because I don't want to accidentally cut myself. Again, be careful when handling tools. This is the alternate chest piece. I would show it off, but I don't trust C-clips, because I don't want to break them. And I kind of like having that Autobot symbol, even though that is just a sticker that the original seller stuck on. I guess I'll go over articulation real quickly. Yeah, articulation is fairly basic. Does have wrist rotation. Everything on Tailgate's slightly looser, which is ironic, since everything on Windcharger is overly tight. There is rotation at this elbow, so that's always good. Trying to be careful. His shoulders are slightly different. Windchargers are more they're more solid. They don't have those fake wheels on the side, because in the original animation model they were just flat with a little stripe, I think. I don't remember. I'll be honest. Legs are actually very good. They go really good high kick. You get the full Van Damme, but pretty close. If you know who Jean-Claude Van Damme is, you know. Yeah. I like old movies like that and those old action stars. Which is ironic, because even though I love Steven Seagal older movies, you know, he's a very terrible human being. And yeah, I can understand why a lot of people don't like Steven Seagal, even though he is very fun to make fun of. Which is ironic, because everybody says I look like Dennis Nedry with a ponytail, but again, I have long hair because I like heavy metal, not because I'm a douche. Everything I say is a joke, people. Don't take it seriously. But yeah, there's Windcharger's car mode again. I'm probably going to put him back in... Actually, I don't know. I kind of want to leave him in robot mode, because he's more impressive to look at, because he has a little more color to him, and he's not as dull. Because again, like, even though I like the red taillights, the robot mode is kind of more fun to look at than Windcharger's. Since, you know, there's not much to look at with Windcharger. And plus, his car mode is more accurate to how you would see a Firebird if you bought it, you know, straight from the factory or the dealer, wherever you order your vehicles from these days, because, you know, stuff like that is almost becoming obsolete, which is kind of sad, because I like to actually test drive things. Yeah, again, I mostly bought these for the car modes, because yes, these are very impressive looking Firebirds, and I've probably said that about 3,000 times. I might get some license plate stickers or paint those in, I'm not sure. It sucks that I had to make a lot of modifications to make the figure more enjoyable, but because these are my personal figures that I'm not getting rid of, since I have to deal with these things for eternity, or at least until I die, and I'm not going to get rid of them, I decided, screw it. If I can make them more tolerable and easier to enjoy, I'll do just that, because, you know, I did want to enjoy these, even though in reality these figures are not that great, but I like them. You know, that's all that matters, because I'm happy with it now, even if I did have to change a few things. But anyway, I hope you all have a good one. I will see you in the next video, and hopefully I'll have an update on that stupid PayPal dispute I'm still dealing with. But anyway, you all have a good one.
Hallelujah! Another soul saved!